A huge hello to my lovely listeners. I hope that you're all rocking along as we move out of lockdown. Well, hopefully, most of us are moving out of lockdown. The current COVID-19 climate is a big time of uncertainty. And I think most of us have been reflecting on what we're doing and perhaps what we're going to do in the future. And some of you might be considering a change of direction through redundancy or just through this reflection time. So, our guest this week is an example of a person who has created or is creating a living with a portfolio of businesses rather than just doing one thing. So, I am going to introduce you to our guest. He was working in the media, he used to work for CNBC, but now his life is as a black cab driver. He is a director and shareholder of a football coaching business, Football Magic Coaching. He's also a property investor alongside being a volunteer for the Dulwich Village Football Club, where he won London FA Volunteer of the Year in 2015. So huge hello to the fantastic Daniel Mascoll.
Hi Amelia, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for stopping your cab and coming on the podcast. So, Daniel, what I would love to ask you is what was the catalyst for moving from being in the media world into being a cabbie and starting your portfolio?
Well, like I said, I really loved being involved in media. I love my time at Discovery Channel, then on to CNBC. But I always had this nagging feeling in the back of my head that I really wanted to get involved in my passion, which is football. I'm a failed footballer, if you say. I had a decent career playing with my friends at multiple levels, and unfortunately, I got quite a bad injury, and I decided to take my coaching badges, and I just really loved it. I loved being involved, helping the children. It was the only thing that stopped me wanting to play football. I spent so much money on knee supports that you could buy a house with what I spent on knee supports. And then what I did, I had a discussion with my family, and I said, I'm going to study the knowledge of London. And the reason I studied the knowledge of London is because you'd mentioned fast forward and thinking forward. I did think about it. How would I feel as a 50-year-old man standing in the field trying to coach children football? One, it'd probably be too cold for me. So I wanted to have a bit of a security blanket of a career that I could take past my 50s, but still keep involved in my passion and maybe work from the sidelines in football. And that's really what got me thinking about it. And that's what really happened for me.
The property investment side that you do with your brothers, I think, is that right?
That's correct, yeah, me and my
Yeah,
two brothers.
your two brothers. Where did that fit into your sort of portfolio of these three elements of freelancing?
Well, that came about. That was my father was a massive influence on that. My dad was a very young father with me, and then my brothers are 15 and 16 years younger than me. I'm the oldest son, but my dad has always drummed into me about securing the future, looking after the family, working together, and he recommended that we get involved in some property for our future. And as I had started a young family myself, he just said to me, "Would you look into it?" And it's really freeing. I'm very lucky for what I've chose because I've just got freedom to be like working for myself in all aspects of my life now, which is a risk, as you know. I know you've attempted that, but if you do it well, it's very freeing.
Daniel, how old are you?
I'll be 40 on the 1st of August.
So still a spring chicken.
Um, but yeah, the brain is, my legs aren't.
It's always you're lucky when you hit about 50, which I'm about to do, your brain goes spongy and it's not a healthy state of affairs. So back onto you. So you've got the property under the belt, the football magic coaching under the belt, and the black cabbie. How long does it take? I mean, this is a question that I hope the listeners will be interested in the answer because it's something that I've always wondered if I go belly up with no cash, whether I'd be a taxi driver or potentially a delivery driver, because I like moving and I like a bit of moving around, exercise, lifting boxes and stuff. But how long did it take you to learn the knowledge and how easy is it?
Okay, it took me 4.5 years to pass the knowledge from start to finish, and there was obviously lots of life scenarios that came up on the way. I had I got married. I had a son. I lost loved ones along the way. So it really just fits along your life. I mean, I had to do it where I was working. I possibly could have done it full time. And what I mean by full time is just totally focused on the knowledge. But I, again, wanted to be comfortable for my family, and I decided to work full time and then study the knowledge on the top of that. When I say the knowledge, one thing is it's not easy, but you don't fail the knowledge. You either continue it or you quit. And the reason I say that is because it's a real mental battle. So when you go up for your what they call appearances, is when you go in front of an examiner who's a qualified taxi driver, and then obviously then given the qualifications to teach students or test students, should I say, you are asked 4 destinations and start points, and you have to get this examiner there the most direct route as quick as possible without hesitating or saying the wrong word, or like not calling it road instead of street or stuff like that. When I say it's hard, I found it hard just more for the mental challenge. The mental challenge for me is when you've studied so hard for, say, a month or 2 months, then you don't get the desired result that you want, and you have to go home and tell your family, unfortunately, not this month, and it can get quite painful. I mean, I've never experienced anything like the anxiety I had before an exam. Spoken to other drivers, they've had a similar experience. It was enjoyable, although can be painful at moments.
So, just to put our international listeners in the picture, the knowledge is what you need to have to qualify to be a black cab driver over in London. And it is, as Daniel was saying, very challenging. So, Daniel, with your various portfolios that you've got on the go, would you define yourself as a natural multitasker?
Yeah, I'm very comfortable being busy. I probably find it more challenging when I've not got much on. Probably my family sometimes says that, but yeah, I'm quite an impulsive person. I like to just get things done. And it sort of helps having people around me that are sort of opposite to me, because if I was acting on my own will, I would be very fast paced, and that's good in some scenarios, but you do need some people to say, well, hold on, slow down here, because you're going too fast, and that's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's good to have different people around you. But yes, to answer your question, I am very comfortable being in a multitasker, should we say.
It's that thing of running too fast. I used to do that when I was younger, and I still do it now. And my penalty in life was to break bones. So breaking both my arms when I was a massage therapist. Recently, I think this year, I've broken 3 toes in my poor left foot. And it's that thing where you're just not paying attention. So it's good to have someone checking, who you check in with. Are you happier combining these different portfolios than just having one role?
Yeah, I asked myself that question. Obviously, with COVID coming up, that was quite a relevant question for me to ask myself, really. And I've got to be honest, yes, I've never been happier in terms of, like I said, I keep using the word free, is because I'm a disciplined person. So when I work for a company, I'm very loyal, and I'm disciplined to my boss. If my boss asks me to do something, it's not a question. I get it done. But I also then felt the negative side of that, where I've got young children, and I mean my children are very important to me, and I'm now free whenever they want me to do something. I have now a choice where I can do that for them. Where you work for a company, that's not always your choice. If you know what I mean, you have to be somewhere maybe at 9 o'clock. So I feel very lucky. Feel very lucky.
How briefly, how has COVID-19 affected you with being a black cabbie?
It's very hard out there at the moment. Again, I'm more fortunate than some black cab drivers because I have loads of other little things going on, and I have a family that will support me. But what I've said to myself in this scenario is that we're all in it together, not just the black cab drivers. The whole world's in it. There'd be people, like you said, listening to this that have maybe lost their job, stuff like that. So I'm not going to complain. I'm going to just get on with it. I do appreciate that there'll be some black cab drivers out there that are in a lot of trouble at the moment, and I just wish that they just stick with it. It'll soon return, and we're in it together. Do you know what I mean?
It's an obvious question, but I'm still going to throw it at you. Uber, the dear Uber, before COVID, back in the good old days, when Uber came along, was it a massive challenge for you as a black cabbie?
Well, I had to ask that question because when I qualified, Uber was around in live and kicking. But I have spoke to some cab drivers, and because you always hear the stories of the good old days. Yes, it's made it more difficult, and situation changed, but for me, I get it because I live in South London, and I remember being working in CNBC and trying to get a cab home. They wouldn't come over the river, and also people have to look after their families. I'm a massive family person, and I never discredit anyone that wants to look after their family. And I had a choice. I could have been an Uber driver if I wanted to, but I chose to do the knowledge, and that was my choice. So once, when I'm in that choice, I just have to make the most of it, really. And there's in normal times, there's enough work out for everyone. And I know black cab drivers will be probably not quite happy with me saying that, but we just got to get on with it.
You probably, Daniel. I mean, I treat myself to a black cab every once in a while, but I always share my innermost secrets, or I end up sharing it for the trip, because you know that you're never going to see the taxi driver again. I mean, presumably there's quite a good book that you've got inside you from taking people from here to there.
Definitely, it's one of them trades where people let themselves go and talk, and sometimes I do as well. It's on the reversal. I spoke about. Funny enough, my experience in life is that, like I said, my family is very important to me, but it wasn't very easy for me and my wife to have children. We went through quite a hardship, and thankfully, we have 2 children now. And I find myself speaking to a lot of dads, or wannabe dads, and saying that they're struggling to have children, and I always say to them, people stay positive, because I was in that position, and now I've got 2 lovely children who I adore, and we were told we wouldn't have children, I always see the lift in their face, and I see a lot of people out there that just want to let go of their stuff, and that's okay. You can do that with a taxi driver, because, like you said, it's 30 minutes probably max that you're going to be in a taxi.
Yeah.
And you very rarely see that person again. It's very unlikely. There's so many taxis out there. If you're a regular taxi driver, or if you're one off, and I think sometimes it's needed. It's actually quite therapeutic to let go.
It's like a hairdresser, and they're needed even more now.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
yeah.
got 3 or 4 months of pent up chat with my hairdresser rolling around inside me. It's a tacky question, but I'm going to be tacky. Have you transported anyone well known at all?
Yeah, I've had John Cleese was the most famous person I feel
Oh,
to me.
wow.
I had him in my taxi. At the time, he was very upset because he had some issues with people living in the apartment, so he didn't really speak to me. But I was very happy to have him in the car. I've had Louise Redknapp.
Gosh, that must have been good for your football love. Well, I mean, I know she's split from Jamie now, but
Yeah, she had been out for the evening, and I was taking her to another venue, and she was with a friend. They're a really nice group, and it was a funny journey. I tell you who I was really blown away by, because I'd just seen that she'd won an award, was Olivia Colman.
oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and I never ever say to him, like, "Oh, you're this person." I just don't know why. I feel maybe a little embarrassed to say it, but I was really blown away. I took her and her family to, I think they were going out for Sunday lunch, and I mean, I've just watched her in a series, and I was just like, I want to say I've just watched you, and really excited fan, but I
You
discipline, and I
held
hold myself
back.
in. I never ever say anything. Yeah, so yeah, I've had a few others, but yeah, that Olivia Colman was one I really, really was like, God, I can't believe she's in my taxi. Do you know what I mean? She's real.
Yeah,
Sort
I
of
mean,
thing.
it's quite amazing. So, Daniel, what have you found to be the upside of running your own business, your gigs, and what are the downsides, if any?
Yeah, like the upsides, like I said, they're all 3 quite different areas, really. I mean, the taxi is is my comfort zone because I'm on my own and I can be quite like I said, impulsive, and you've got no one to ask or answer to whether what you do and the hours you want to do. The property side, I do like working with my brothers. Again, I'm very close to them. I'm very proud of them and what they've achieved in such a young age. Um,
Well, one is a footballer, isn't he? A
yeah,
professional
one's a
footballer.
professional footballer, and my other brother is, he's just finished uni with his law degree. So I'm very proud of
Wow.
them. Um, and then the football magic, I do love because it's with my friends. Um, Although I struggle because again my impulsiveness wants me to get in action, but it's also very grounding for me to have them because they'll have their different ways of an approach of doing things. And I'm one of these people, I learn off people. So although I like to be on my own, I actually really learn off other people. And I'm very adaptable to what I see people do. And I'd like to take the best bits out of people. I'm very comfortable in that scenario, especially like if for my coaching, for example, I'm always taking bits of other coaches because I just love what they do. And I think some people have got some really great ideas. I usually I usually remember half of it, make up the other half, and then it becomes my own sort of thing. So I like that in business as well. I've got a very he's not my official mentor, but I work with someone who I have a lot of respect for, and he keeps me grounded. I can be very emotional, a very emotive person sometimes, and he does keep me grounded. And he'll say to me, "Just hold on, Daniel. Just think about it from this way," and it's brilliant. I mean, negatives. There isn't really any negatives other than, like you said, it is a risk, and like you said, a time where you're a service person and there's no service to provide. Yes, you're not taking any money in. And don't get me wrong, if COVID went on for a whole year, I probably would have a different view on it. Um, but I still, even though that negative is there, I still just think I'm very lucky to, like I said, be able to look after myself from these little businesses that I do. So,
And Daniel, how do you cope under pressure?
in terms of laid back, I don't let things bother me too much. I'm What I would like to say is that I'm more positive than negative. So if something goes wrong, I tend to try and look at my part in it. I don't like to have the poor me's, if you know what I mean. There's a saying that I use,
Hmm.
the poor me's. I don't like to have the poor me's because it's not going to change anything. So I like to just be right. Okay, what can we learn from this? How can we move on? And what did I do wrong? And if I could do it again, what would I do the same things? And usually that helps me to deal with pressure quite a lot.
And isn't it? I mean, also, I think being under pressure and that nervousness and everything else, it sort of drives one to improve, but also the satisfaction and the growth as a result of it can really sort of bolster one's confidence, don't you think?
100%. And I think, like I said, COVID, especially with my coaching company, we have thought of
Yes.
so many great ideas during COVID that we we came out with. I didn't expect us to have any turnover, but the four of us, five of us, that there's a couple people that are involved as well help. We just we thrived. We were getting out to our customers. We were a presence, and now that we're sort of coming out of it, we're reaping the benefits of it, really.
And the coaching, Daniel, because we haven't focused much on that, and I'm not sure how much time we're going to have to, but that's for boys and girls in South London, is that right?
Yep, it's for boys and girls. I mean, even adults to a certain extent.
And
We don't
adults.
discriminate. Yeah, if but mainly, yeah, you're correct. Focusing on boys and girls of any ability, and that's our key motto. We're here to help everyone. If you want to play football, come and see us. Because sport in general or anything is it's so rewarding to do, and I think you need to, if you're interested in it, take up any sport because it gives you so many life skills that you don't realize. And that's how I coach. Is I actually, the footballs, they teach themselves in my eyes. I'm here to just give them some guidance on that. But what I will teach them is about being disciplined, about presentation, about acting within a group, or acting on your own sometimes, dealing with pressure. And that's how I take my coaching. Um, but yeah, we're really open to all. We're not elitist, although we have some very talented players that have progressed onto the professional game. We're also here for the person that hasn't never kicked a football before and doesn't kick it very well. We want to improve wherever we can.
And what's the goal with the with Magic Coaching, Daniel?
For me, I want to keep providing the service that we do, maybe grow a little bit more. In the long term, if you ask me what my maybe 5-10 year plan is, I would be interested in selling the business. That's just me. I'm not sure what my partners will feel like.
So that could be your retirement.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing with these portfolios, isn't it? Of having things that come ripe at different times, I would imagine.
Totally. Like I said, I do everything I want to do. I do everything because I want to be comfortable in certain things, and I want to be. If I want to provide my children with this, or my brothers with something, I want to be able to do that. It's not always been the case in my scenario. I grew up in South London. It wasn't always a case where, we were, always well off. I've never wanted for nothing, but I've not been able to get everything I wanted. And sometimes it's nice to have that choice, but also be balanced with it. Not be greedy, or that's one thing I don't like to be. I don't want to be unappreciative of stuff. I like to have to work for stuff because it makes me appreciate it. I think if you get anything too easy, it's not always, it's not so rewarding. If you work hard for something, it feels a lot better, tastes a lot better.
That's right. It does. Okay, so quick fire round where it's just a simple answer before we head into our chocolate break. Optimist or pessimist?
Optimist.
Perfectionist or non-perfectionist?
Oh, perfectionist.
Introvert, extrovert or ambivert?
Extrovert.
Morning or afternoon person?
Morning.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so now we have got the chocolate break. Now this, when I asked Daniel his choice of chocolate bar, I had, if I'm really honest, hoped it was not ever going to be what he said. And ultimately, his chocolate bar of choice is Fry's Turkish Delight. I have avoided this bar throughout my life. I did do my rose chocolate bar, which got me into it, but it's the thought of this jelly texture. Anyway, I am joining Daniel I'm just unwrapping nervously now to tuck in. A bit about Fry's Turkish Delight is that it was launched back in 1914. And apparently it's so popular in Australia that they have Easter eggs, ice cream and family-sized blocks. And in Ireland, they even have their own dairy milk version. And in 1950, for the younger listeners, you probably don't remember this, but it used to be full of Eastern promise. They used to have this girl, didn't they, Daniel? She had a sort of veil on her face, I feel. And it was, anyway, that was a slogan that has moved from 1950s to pretty much the current day. So I'm just going to shut up and eat this. But you're enjoying it, are you, Daniel?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I've already started mine, hasn't he? Yeah, it's lovely.
Actually, it's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. How interesting. It's really weird, isn't it, when you have that thing where you just think, no, I know I'm not going to like it and I'm never going to touch it and never going to eat it. But the show is about being open-minded. And actually, this is really not so bad. Okay, so moving on, Daniel, you carry on tucking into yours. What do you think of the words success and failure? What do they mean to you?
Yeah, if you're going to ask me, but I think it's what you see about yourself. I mean, no one can tell you if you're successful. It's what you feel. I think it's a feeling more than what you want, because I mean, to me, I can have moments when I feel really successful. I'm sometimes I when I grew up in a flat, and when I bought my first house, I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. I live in a house, and that can feel really emotive to me. Do you know what I mean? And I have a massive garden now. I mean, I didn't always have a big garden, and so you do feel successful in yourself. That might not be successful to someone that already started off in that thing. They might think, well,
Mm-hmm.
I need a country estate now. But so success is what
yacht.
you feel. Yeah, and that's fine. That's okay. I mean, failure. The one thing I feel about it is that within life in general, you can always start again. Like I said, I'm coming up to 40 this year. You've mentioned milestone birthday as well, and what I've
Yep.
always understood, or what sorry, not always, but what I found out as I started to get older is that I can start again. So failure isn't always the doom and gloom that you associate with that word, and that's what I've always tried to do. If I failed, someone said to me, if you can fail quickly and then move on.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely is. And I think that's really refreshing what you've just said, Daniel, about, any age you can start again. And certainly with my life, as have said, I'm about to hit 50 and I'm starting up a podcast gig. And, it's that whole thing where I just think, crikey, Moses, I'm heading towards 70. But it doesn't really matter. I think any age, it's, a lot of the younger people are starting up really young and they're very lucky. But for our generation, well, I'm 10 years older than you, obviously, we didn't have it wasn't a startup nation then, but it is that refreshing thing where you just think, you know what, I'm going to evolve and do something else. And I think it's really liberating. Right, moving swiftly on into the well-being side of Daniel Mascoll. How and where does stress affect you?
Yeah, stress. I mean, I suffer quite badly with headaches, and so it's a physical thing. Stress for me, it physically drains me. But I try not to. Again, it's that letting go of it. It's acceptance around it. I just let it in, know it's going to pass, and I move on.
So, Daniel, how important is well-being for you? And do you manage to make time to incorporate it in your life on a sort of regular basis? I mean, you must be driving a lot of, well, maybe not less so COVID-19, but there must be days where you're sort of driving for hours and hours. How do you keep fit?
Yeah, so I mean, it's about having discipline and structure in your life, and that's where my I use other people, my family help with that. So my wife, for example, I mean, she's quite right. There were periods where sometimes I get really blinkered and keep going forward, and then she'll tell me, "Well, what about children? What about this?" And then so I'm very disciplined. I put in structured times now, so I have joined the gym. I joined the gym last year, and I really love it. So I have a routine. I take my son to school. I spend the morning in the gym. If I'm going out in a taxi after, I will go in a taxi after. If not, I may do some of me admin work now because it's got a lovely little cafeteria around healthy food, stuff like that. And I really enjoy that. And then I pick my son up or go to work, whatever I need to do. But I need to sort of have a diary. If I don't have a diary and I live on self-will, I can be a little bit dangerous to myself. So
You wouldn't be
yeah,
in the gym.
no. So I need to keep a little. I have to have a bit of structure, and I do follow my diary quite strict. So my diary on my phone is key to me to keeping that well-being.
And how do you switch off at night? Do you find it easy to sleep through the night? And do you switch off your phone and cut off, or do you find that you continue to be plugged into the digital world and sleep less well?
Yeah, I switch. I do switch off from work. So when I'm at home, I don't take calls. But what I need to probably do a little bit better is I will still answer messages and do my emails. Um, so I'm trying to find a balance there. I'm not happy with where I am with that at the moment. It's still something I would like to improve on. I do sleep. I do sleep well because I have to get sleep because my children wake up at 6 o'clock regardless of anything. So I try and get myself in bed at a reasonable time. But yeah, I would like to improve on that switching off, turning the phone off. I think I mean I'm not going to be open and honest. I sleep with the radio on.
Wow.
It's just
What,
something
chat or music?
no, it's usually a talking station, and
Oh my God, that would
I know.
drive me nuts.
Well, I have the headphones on because my wife hates it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I've never been a great sleeper, and it's the only way that's helped me be a great sleeper. It helps me sleep. I think I have so many things and ideas going around in my head at night, and that's where it doesn't switch off.
It's amazing.
So I need something to drown it out, and then that's
Your
what helped me.
brain isn't going to switch off with a whole load of chat. The only thing is that your brain absorbs it. So you should probably be on Mastermind or something.
Probably don't know the stuff.
It depends what stuff you're listening to. Do you have any time for hobbies at all?
Football's my hobby. Football's my hobby that I'm into, but not really. I've just started getting into gardening. So from COVID, I've like I said, I'd never had a garden before, and when we bought this house, I loved it because of the cost of the garden, and I've now got into it. So I tend to do that every Saturday. That's my Saturday routine. I take my dog out there. My dog's my hobby. I like to walk in. We go to the fields, and he runs about. Although he keeps getting himself hurt at the moment, but yeah. So not major hobbies. My hobbies are around what I do, if you know what I mean. I love going and watch my brother play football. So I tend to do that. So although I class it as a hobby, I suppose it's part of my industry that I'm in. Football is something I really love and do. But yeah.
And do you have a book or a song that you'd like to share with the listeners?
The book I like Matthew Syed's book, A Bounce. I really like that. I think I get it. It makes sense to me. Music. I used to really be into my music. I mean, I'm a bit of I like R&B. I like anything sort of romantic, I suppose, or anything. I mean, this morning I was listening to to my old on, but some Sam Cooke. And I like all that old stuff. I like the
bit
sound
of nostalgia.
Yeah. So I'm not really into. I did like the music in the early, late 1990s. But now, if I'm honest, I never thought I would be like this. But I would rather just listen to something old now. I suppose that's what happens to all of us, doesn't it? Really. But it's not one song. It's more of a genre I like. I like a bit of soul.
Yeah. I'm revisiting the 80s and 90s at the moment. So finally, because the podcast is Hope and Patience, where have you had to have the most hope so far in your life, and also patience too?
Yeah, I suppose the patience side of it, and this is and hope. I suppose they link together on this. So with my current team that I coach for Dudley Village, I mean, we just won the London Cup at under 14s.
Well done.
And so we're classed as the best team in London at the moment.
That's brilliant.
And I've had them since they were 8 years old. And when I took them over at 8, they were in like what was a very low league. But I just knew that with a bit of guidance and hope and a bit of patience around it, we could become the best team in London. And it took us to under 14s to get there, but we finally got there. And like I said, we're the current holders of the London Cup under 14s.
Brilliant.
So I suppose that's my being patient with something, and I hope the players would believe in me that they could achieve that, because sometimes it's about belief. I'm not saying we've got the best players, but we've got the best team because we've come together as a collective.
Well, clearly it's pretty potent collective. Yeah. Where can the listeners find out a bit more about the footballing? I think is the main thing, isn't it, to share with them? What's the website for that?
Yep, so it's footballmagiccoaching.co.uk. You can obviously find us on social media as well. We're pretty much everywhere. But if you go onto the website, then you'll see all the products we are, or you can contact us through our info line, and someone can come forward and help you with your thing.
Great, and we'll put that in the show notes. So thank you, Daniel, so much. It has been the most fantastic episode. I hope the listeners have learnt so much about the black cab world, and also having a portfolio of businesses too. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you for asking. Thank you. It's been brilliant.
So the recommendation for this episode is not a book. It is actually a Pilates online course that I have been doing during lockdown, and I think it is absolutely amazing. It's totally affordable, and you can do it as and when you want. And it's Chloe's online Pilates, and it's Chloe's Pilates at home.vhsx.tv. But again, that will be in the show notes. The quote is by the artist Salvador Dali, and it's, "Have no fear of perfection, you'll never reach it." So, a huge thank you to my lovely listeners for finding the show. Don't forget to subscribe to get the latest episode. And if you're enjoying the show, it would be truly fab if you would rate and review it. Any recommendations, quotes, songs can be found in the show notes and on the website too. Until the next time, however tough the times get, keep that inner sparkle you all have.